Now we've got number 1 drain earthquake damage repair options.
Thank you very much. Again, we've got a very short presentation if you want us to go through for that.
Like the presentation.
So again, this is another land drainage recovery programme project, but what you'll see at this stage is that the emphasis, the focus is on repair. So Peter's just going to take us through where it is and what we're proposing.
So yes, another drain, exciting drain. This one I think is slightly more exciting at what we're looking to do to it. Where this drain is number 1 drain, which goes between the Shirley catchment, you can see on the screen there, and through to Waikakariki or Horseshoe Lake. It's a concrete line drain, and it was one of the ones identified as being most damaged within the city. So as Keith said, this is very much about repair. This drain, and I guess the consequence of not doing anything, will fail and has potential for flooding upstream and a more costly repair. You can't quite see it in these photos, but when you see it on site, you can see that it's it needs serious work. It is a drain of 2 halves. The western half does need replacement. Those were the photos on that side, seriously damaged. The eastern half is less damaged and can be spot repaired at those sections which are particularly badly damaged. And that's the way we sort of framed it in the report, in terms of western half requires replacement, and the eastern half there's some decisions to be made around how to approach that. In terms of the costings for repair of the drain, there's I guess 3 options we looked at. Repairing like for like, and that's just replacing the concrete panels, taking it back to a concrete drain. Repairing it with natural banks, that's a wider base channel but just sloping it up at 3:1 slopes, still somewhat utilitarian. Or naturalising it, and that's taking it back to a more natural stream channel to recreate I guess what was originally there. In terms of the costs of those, they're ranging between $2,550 per metre to $2,900 per metre. Now at this stage level of costing, those are approximately the same. So I guess we're looking at 3 different options with a similar cost per unit cost to replace those. With the naturalisation meeting, I guess, a lot of other benefits in terms of improving the ecological health. Horseshoe Lake is in the Mahanui iwi management plan is identified as one of those water features within the city that I'd like to see improved particularly. So the 3 options that we presented in the report is repairing the western half through naturalisation and just focusing on that western half, and then looking at the eastern half as either a spot repair, or we're doing some works to see whether, some modelling to see whether more capacity is needed, so that could be done under LDRP scope, or it can just go back into I guess being prioritised with other naturalisation projects throughout the city. But what we're proposing is a detailed design would be completed under the LDRP, just in terms of there's a design team there. It makes sense to do the full detailed design now. The second option is to repair the western half with concrete channel, like for like, and then the third option is to naturalise the entire length. So the western half would fit within LDRP scope, but I guess getting approval to extend that scope for this particular case to naturalise the entire length. In terms of costs, there's a lot of costs associated with just getting set up and design and established on site. So it's a ratio of about 75% for the western half and 25% if you were to do the eastern half as one package. If you were to come back again, it might be slightly different, but that's around about the ballpark. So yes, the preferred option there was that we put forward under our current scope was the detailed design of the entire length under the LDRP project. The LDRP scope is just to naturalise the western half only, and for the remainder seek what other options there are. So that's the project in a nutshell.
The potential alignment with the Avon Stormwater Management Plan, I like the idea of having a first flush basin. Is that included in this?
So that's not been included in that. This was identified relatively late in the piece. I have talked about it with the people involved in the stormwater management plan. I've looked at very high level sizing, whether you could do something there, and yes, you could do something on the land available.
And the golf course is quite happy with that.
And we've talked about that with the golf course. It's an area between fairways that's not particularly used at the moment. So they, in principle, they'd have to go through the club. Don't have any problem with it at this stage. So the way I see that is that that could be prioritised with the Avon SMP and see whether it matches their priorities for. I guess the catchment itself is residential, so maybe doesn't. It's not high traffic roads or industrial commercial catchment, but the downstream receiving environment in this case is particularly sensitive. So
that's right. So
addressing those
it just seemed to me that it ticked a lot of boxes for me, which is why I couldn't quite fathom why it wasn't in the recommendations. But you've explained that because it was late, and maybe that's something that perhaps I should have said even before, is that, you know, we're in the new environment now with the Greater Christchurch Regeneration Act, and we've also, as a council, committed to cleaning up our waterways. So, and stormwater obviously is a significant part of the contributing factor, and this is a particularly vulnerable area and special area, you know, as you've identified. So it's a very good paper. And I just wonder whether we need to be thinking all the time holistically around not just land drainage, but also cleaning up the rivers, also regeneration opportunities at every step of the way. Because, I mean, there will be land drainage works, for example, that will require compulsory acquisition under the Public Works Act. Actually, it might be a lot quicker and actually a lot more engaged with the public in terms of that regeneration of an area, to go through a regeneration planning process or through a purchase process through the Act. So I guess that we're going to be asking you know, council to staff to be thinking all the time about all three at the same time. So sort of that 360-degree view of the total program and what we're trying to achieve in terms of regeneration. So, and it did seem to me that that was something that was missing from the recommendations. But I don't know whether a request to investigate that option further and progress it if it's able to be progressed. I mean, I'm not sure of the, because it's, you know, and I was making a comment before about silo thinking, and so one group of money comes from the land drainage recovery program, another bit of money comes from the stormwater management program for the Avon. So I don't know. I mean, it's
certainly something that we could take direction to investigate further about the feasibility and what it would do in terms of water quality.
Because it would make a difference to do it now, wouldn't it, at the same time as doing this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
But,
Paul?
I suppose mine flows on from what the idea you're talking about, because
flows on.
the $500,000 extra to naturalise the whole project seems logical from the perspective of actually managing, river quality. But I suppose that now outweighed with what Leanne's suggesting. Would the money be better to be put into that project rather than naturalising the whole thing? To me, I'd look at it and go, well, the money's on the budget to naturalise the whole thing, and I just wonder why we wouldn't do it now.
It's a question of scope, I think, in terms of we work within a certain scope and then we put forward options for enhancement, and we have the scope to, I guess, identify options for enhancement. In terms of naturalising the whole thing versus, you'd want to do it together with some sort of water quality treatment feature, because they basically would be so close together in terms of scope and scale that you'd make them work together. So it would be something which is compatible with that.
If you could, though, would you naturalise the whole thing now, if you had your preferred choice? I know you're saying this is your preferred choice, but it may come down just to cost.
This is a preferred choice under the Land Drainage Recovery Program scope. The option to naturalise the whole thing is something which I think would have good benefits to do that at the same time. And that's why I'm proposing that we at least design the whole thing at once.
Yeah. Glenn and then Phil.
Thank you. Yes, I would support that joining up, and I was thinking about that box ticking over regen plans, especially with regard to, you know, that proposal for, e.g., something like a flat water facility, which you'll know would come into that area. There's a kind of certain element of the Lorax thing, you know, who will speak for that area, given its cultural sensitivity. So I think we do need to look at joining up with the regen bucket of work.
Yeah.
So look, I think if we were going to decide on that part today, we should ask for some more information about the processes. My concern is that if we indicate we want it joined up now by way of the third option, clearly that's not the $500,000 means that that's $500,000 that isn't spent on another land drainage part. And I'll be frank, the messages that Tim and I get around the Heathcote River are very clear. So flooding the land drainage part was the priority of the flood task force. There's every reason to have the cleaning up the water, and if this could be considered as part of that we do so. But I think before we decided on doing that, we should get some further information for clarification about those processes.
I think they're saying that we get a detailed design for the naturalisation of the whole length, but we commit to naturalise the western half only, so that the detailed design's done for the whole lot. And what I'm asking is whether that should also include the Avon Stormwater Management Plan suggestion for a first flush basin in that area between the fairways.
And the funding for the eastern half would not come from the LDRP, but from elsewhere.
It would have to come from elsewhere, but that would be a separate decision of the council to go down that track.
That's all right.
Yep. So is there a phrase that we could do to ask you to potentially scope the inclusion of that, or at least consult with the people in the... I mean, you answered my question well, because I couldn't understand why it wasn't included in the recommendation, but it's because it came up late. So is there any chance of just seeking advice from those involved in the Avon Stormwater Management Plan as to whether this would be a priority for...
Yes, I mean, I've certainly discussed it with them in terms of alignment with their overall approach, and it does align. Perhaps it's just adding in concept design of a first flush or a stormwater quality treatment facility alongside the drain or something like that.
Yeah, so can we add that to detailed design of the naturalisation? Oh no, just add to their, what is it? Concept design. Concept design for the first flush basin.
I wouldn't call it a first flush basin, that's one, I guess, subset of, call it stormwater quality treatment facility.
Okay, concept design for stormwater quality treatment.
Which leaves you more room to move to.
As identified in the paper.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Right, Yanni?
Yeah, I just wanted to check, has the work taken into account wastewater overflows and wet weather events?
Not to date, no.
So, is there a process? Because the point you make about water quality, the mayor makes about water quality, and obviously one of the most distressing things for the communities when it floods is the raw sewage that then goes through their houses and properties. So, is there a way that we're thinking about actually how we stop that from happening as part of these drainage projects?
As proposed in the...
Certainly, the range of people that we have on our design reviews, concept designs, issues and options include people who have an oversight of the wastewater network and an understanding. So these are often raised as an issue if there's a potential overflow upstream as to what effect that might have.
In the report,
As part of this one, I'm not specifically aware of an overflow point upstream of here. But we can check that further.
The low-lying land's on the other side of the Horseshoe Lake.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
in general.
can I just ask that whole question about wastewater overflows? I wonder if Dave Adams might comment on that, because I know that a lot of, like Yanni's asked the question, but a lot of work has been done.
Yeah, it just seems like stopping raw sewage going into our waterways should be like a top priority, and we should.
Mr. Adamson might comment on that.
That's not necessarily true.
We've got a separate team that's looking at the storm, the sewer and the sewer overflows and that reticulation system and how it interacts with that. So this group's looking after the land drainage program, and so it'd be hard for them to update you on the progress that we're making around all of that repair work and what we're doing around those consented and non-consented wastewater discharges. There'll be some that you'll never fix because you'll get a blockage because of people inappropriately putting stuff down. I think we heard about that not too long ago, but there are some, and unfortunately when those blockages happen, they do actually overflow at the lowest point in the reticulation. So we are got another team looking at that sort of specific issue.
So my understanding is the system's designed in a wet weather event to overflow into the stormwater, right? So at the moment we've got a system that says if we get too much rain, the kind of safety valve is to discharge, to overflow into the drainage, the stormwater drainage system.
When we get to a certain level, there are certain control points that actually enable a controlled discharge rather than a uncontrolled discharge, because you know where it's going, and it, you know, the paramount thing is to protect public health.
So, and all I'm asking is how are we doing that through this process?
Well, can I make a point of order? This actually doesn't refer, this isn't in relation to this report. It's a whole separate issue. And if the committee have looked at these issues at different times, and there'll be relevant reports available on that. That's quite separate from this. They do need to be aligned, and they are being aligned as much as possible.
It came up through the flooding task force. It came up in the feedback. The land drainage program should be dealing with it, but you're saying it's not. I personally just can't understand why we wouldn't take that opportunity to take that holistic approach.
I think the words I can't understand probably reflect the situation, because it is a separate issue, and I think that we do need to possibly have a workshop on the whole question of overflows. And I mean, we're setting up a whole what do you call it, a seminar with ECAN, with, you know, the university, with all of the different parties in relation to water quality, because this is a top priority for the council. So, I mean, we can get a report on that specific issue, but I think to have the staff who are here dealing with the No.1 drain and the matters in terms of earthquake damage repair options, I think that it's not in order to be raising that in the context of this discussion.
So I'm very happy that we had a workshop on these things so that the issues that have been raised are aligned and we're clear about the programs that are happening.
Yeah, so just in terms of 5.2, it talks about the priority site with regard to addressing water quality issues. So, you know, I mean, you can say it's not relevant to today and we'll have a workshop in the future, but if we're committing funding to doing a repair and we don't have an understanding of what impact it has on improving the water quality, then...
We've just raised a whole thing for a concept design for stormwater quality treatment as proposed in the report.
Yeah.
We've added that.
Good.
So, but we are going through a process of getting to understand all of the components of our obligations as a city and the impact that we have on our rivers. So, and the Horseshoe Lake is obviously, you know, a really important place. So, is that okay?
Yes. Can we just ask for a slight rewording change to the proposed item D?
Yep.
So you were just saying?
Potentially, just change it to include stormwater quality treatment design as proposed in the report, which gives us a bit more freedom as to whether it's just a detailed or
stormwater quality to include
stormwater
quality treatment
design
as proposed in the report. All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. So has that been moved and seconded? I've lost track.
Yeah, I've moved it.
Yeah, it was moved by Pauline.
Oh, was it Ellie?
And seconded by Phil. All right.
Can I speak to this, please? Then look, you know, we talk about improving our water quality and reducing sewage overflows. All this work will help to address these overflows because we're increasing the capacity of our waterways in many parts. And I just want to reiterate the hard work and the talent in this team here, that what they come up with. In our working party, we often have these projects come to us again and again. They're modified, they're revised, they're changed, they're often reduced costs and increased efficiencies and a better result. The work that's going into this is amazing. We just received this recently about the Dudley work, and this has got all the work packages, exactly where they are, on time, on budget. It's just really impressive. They're really on the button, all this work, and the fact that this team actually identified this naturalisation option for the eastern half as well and has included it in the design, but it's not within our capacity to fund that, is an indication of the way they are thinking about our water quality and the opportunities. So I just once again want to thank the team for the incredible work that they're doing. They're a really good bunch to work with, and they're on the button, so thank you very much. Yeah. We're getting really good bang for buck, sorry.
Got it in there.
Yes.
Look, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.